Products featured in today's video were provided by TRON Select Toys for the purposes of this review. Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the TRON Select action figures from TRON Select Toys. These are the select versions of these figures, and what I mean by that is by now you might have already found the Walgreens exclusive versions of these figures. TRON, Sark, and the blue version of Flynn have already been out at Walgreens, but they're in slimmer packages and they have much fewer accessories than these sets right here. So these select versions give us all these extra accessories, but also some of the colors appear to be a little bit different. Like the reds are definitely a bit brighter, more neon looking here on Sark. And Flynn is actually our infiltrator Flynn, so he's wearing the red disguise as opposed to his normal blue coloring. So they're in these bigger blister card packages. You can see interchangeable hands, lots of cool effects going on with the discs, so that's going to be pretty neat. Now, it is worth noting that when these were originally announced, they were going to come with Build-A-Figure pieces, and unfortunately, those pieces have been canceled at this point. Originally, we were going to be able to build like a smaller scaled version of one of the recognizers, but TRON Select Toys did confirm that that has unfortunately been cut completely. So that no longer comes with these figures. This is the final versions of the figures that are set to be released in February. So why don't we go ahead and open these guys up here, and we can go ahead and get a closer look at all of our action figures within these boxes. All right, so we got our TRON figures opened up, and we're going to look at them one by one, and we're going to start things off by looking at our infiltrator Flynn here. So if I bring in the tape measure, you can see that the figure stands right about at the 7-inch mark. In fact, he's just a smidge over 7 inches tall with the helmet there. And the colors on this, as I mentioned in the package, are red. Because this is our infiltrator version of Flynn from when he kind of stole the red coloring to kind of blend in a little bit with our bad guys in the film. There is a blue version of Flynn that was already sold exclusively at Walgreens stores, and we will bring him in a little bit later for a bit of a comparison time so you can see what these guys look like side by side. Otherwise, let's go ahead and focus on the details of this particular figure here. So looking at the face sculpt, it's actually a pretty decent likeness to Jeff Bridges. Definitely recognizable when you look at it there. Very smooth in the textures though, but I think that's done on purpose. And of course, the face there is all like this solid gray in color, though he does have some decent details in the eyes there. In fact, when we compare that later on, you'll notice that these new figures have better detailed eyes than those Walgreens ones, which wasn't something I noticed until I put them side by side. But otherwise, the face is just kind of a flat gray color, exactly as it appeared in the film. The rest of the figure is basically sporting the nice, bright, kind of vibrant white color with these very neon reds that are almost like a orange, almost an orangish red, but they are very bright and very vibrant to kind of give off that glowing effect that TRON is known for having in the film. And I love all of the little details there. I mean, all of that little circuit work and everything is very nice. That is all sculpted. Most of it is on there. Like some of these other little circuitry pieces are just paint, but like the bigger ones, like the insignia on his chest and all the parts around it here, that's all like actually dipped in. That's sculpted in there. So it's a good mixture of sculpted parts for the circuitry as well as painted on parts, but it all looks nice and clean. I love all the details coming across the top of the helmet here. Love those bright colors on the back. Of course, Flynn stands out a little bit because he's also wearing like this little almost like a tunic piece here, or like a toga almost basically, where he's got the one sleeve kind of coming down on the left arm there, kind of covers up his torso just a little bit there, so that makes him stand out a little bit from characters like TRON, of course. And you can see those lines coming all the way down. Of course, the articulation's going to break that up just a little bit there in the thighs, but all in all, I think these look really, really great. And it's really interesting, of course, because the thing that makes Tron so neat as far as like the way it stands out is you picture these guys on those solid black backgrounds and all of the colors being bright and vibrant and glowing. And I think they did a pretty good job of pulling this off and making it still look kind of exciting. Obviously, it's not like glowing like it's LED lights or anything like that, but with those bright, vibrant colors, I think it looks pretty nice. It definitely gives off a glowing effect. And because I know a lot of people are going to ask, no, they don't glow in the dark. It is not glow in the dark paint. These orangish red here, it's so bright and neon, it's probably blacklight responsive. Of course, that'll give like the rest of the figure a purplish glow, but it's not glow in the dark. But I do think that the colors are nice and bright, and I like them quite a bit. Overall, I love the sculpt. I think the design is really good on this guy. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at the articulation so you know what to expect with these figures here. So the head is ball jointed at the top of the neck, so the head can look left and right, and it can move up and down. It doesn't have a really wide range of motion up and down, but you can see it bobbles up and down basically there. So the arms have these ball joints at the shoulders there, the hinge type ball joints. You can see he's got this like arm pad, this like shoulder pad that definitely hinders the motion over here. And since he's got the sleeve on over here, you're really not going to get that arm up very high either. And same with forwards and backwards. The motion is definitely hindered because of the sleeve on there. It is a pliable soft plastic, but you can see, and I can still move the arm, but it definitely isn't going to have the same range of motion as the right arm, which you can see can go all the way up and down. We do have swivels at the bicep there on both arms. We do have a double joint at the elbow there, so you can bend that. You've got a swivel at the wrist, and you've also got the little hinge joints at the wrist there. There is some torso articulation, again, slightly hindered by the toga type thing that he's wearing there, but you can kind of swivel that left and right there as well. You can see, kind of turn the whole body. The whole toga kind of moves with it, so that works out pretty nice for the swiveling left and right there. You do have the ball joints at the thighs, so legs can go outwards, forwards, and backwards. You got swivels at the thigh cut. You have double joints in the knee. There's nothing there at the boot cut, probably just to avoid breaking up the sculpt. The ankles can move forwards and backwards. They're very tight. They got that kind of that ratchet joint there, so that's really good. That'll keep them standing. And then they can also rock side to side. So all in all, it's some pretty decent articulation here. And of course, it's going to differ a little bit with guys like Sark and Tron, and I'll show you that. But you should be able to get some good poses out of it. They're very lanky and skinny. Obviously, these characters weren't like buffed out or showing muscles or anything like that. So it's pretty true to like the actual thin nature of the actors. But it does make the legs feel like really long and thin for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's the white and the colors that really makes it feel extra, but I don't know. So Flynn does come with a few accessories. First of all, he does have a stand. All of these come with a figure stand. So it's got one foot peg on there. So if you want to use that to keep them standing, it works pretty well. So that's nice inclusion there. As you saw, it wasn't necessary. The figure stands just fine on his own. Of course, he does have his little data disc there. And this has a peg on the back, also nice swirls and bright colors. But the peg is good because you do have the little hole on his back, so you can store this on the figure's back, which is appropriate. But of course, you can also pull that off. And if you want to try to get some poses for, playing discs of Tron, we can try to get him to fit in the hand. Now, it mostly just kind of rests on his hands. You can kind of squeeze it between his thumb there, but he doesn't really get a good grip on it. Both of those hands are kind of the same, but you can kind of get it resting there, so you can try to get some poses as if he's about to throw the disc. Now, he does come with a pair of interchangeable hands, where they're kind of in like these open, almost like he just threw the disc. That's kind of what the pose looks like to me. So you can easily pop the hands out just by pulling it off the peg. You want to watch out for like the little wrist bracelets because those are separate pieces and those will move when you take the hands off there. But here, we can go ahead and put both of those hands on. They look exactly the same. So now you've kind of got like these poses almost like he just threw the disc. You can also set the disc on these hands, like if you kind of balance it. You can find ways to make that work as well, but you never really get like a super tight grip with the disc. Not with either of these hands, I wasn't really able to. So you just got to find the right way to kind of rest it there. There we go, like that. You find the right way to rest it there, so that way you can pose them holding on to the disc. Now, he does come with one more accessory, which is kind of fun. They all come with these neat accessories, which are brand new to these that didn't come with the Walgreens ones, which have these blast effects. So this one actually has a blue disc with the red disc bouncing off of it. So it's interesting that it comes with Flynn, because this is our red Flynn, so him holding the blue disc with a red disc bouncing off of it. I don't know, but you can definitely use that for your included Tron figure as well if you want to have him holding on to it. So we'll show that to you in a little bit as well. So here's our Tron action figure. Again, his body is basically built exactly the same as Kevin Flynn there. In fact, the lower legs and everything are definitely matching with what we saw with Flynn, but of course he's got the blue colors, and they're nice and vibrant. They're not near as neon as that orangish red color that we saw on Flynn, but it still looks really nice against the white there. Of course, some of his costume is a little bit different. For example, he's not wearing the toga thing. He's got the extra wrist bracer on the left and the shoulder pad. He's got the T right there for Tron. So, all of his circuitry is a bit different. In fact, here, look, if I stand them side by side, you can see that they've got different sculpts in the torso there, with some of the circuitry designs are different. The helmets are the same sculpt, but the circuitry design on the top is different for them. And again, the face looks the same. It's a nice, smooth looking face. It's got that gray color, but the eyes do have some nice detail there as well. So, Tron, of course, does come with his own unique accessories. He does come with the same figure stand as we saw with Kevin Flynn, but he's also got his own blue data disc, which once again, you can store on his back if you want to. He's also got a couple different sets of interchangeable hands. So you can see he's kind of got like these gripping hands, which are a little bit different than what we saw on Flynn's, and you can actually get him to hold on to his disc. Again, it's not like a really tight grip, but if you find the right way to rest the disc there, you can usually get him to hold on to it. But we've got a couple of interchangeable hands. So first of all, he's got the same throwing hands that we saw with Kevin Flynn, but he's got an extra set of hands. He's got a third pair that's unique to Tron. He's got these little gripping hands that look like they are specifically meant to hold onto the data disk in a certain way. So let me go ahead and swap those on so I can show you what I'm talking about there. Of course, articulation is the same on this guy, so he does have the hinge joints there at the wrist, which is really great. These hands, to me, look like they are specifically made so he can hold on to that data disk out in front of him or up above his head. Of course, you still have to find the right way to position it. It's a bit tricky to get him to hold on to it, but it can be done, and you can get him to hold it out in front of him, or you could do the over-the-head shot, that very iconic over-the-head pose. Of course, his neck doesn't allow him to look up at the disc, but still, it's worth noting that those hands definitely will hold onto that disc kind of up above his head, which is exactly what I think those particular hands are intended for. Now, Tron here actually got the most accessories, because aside from all those hands and the interchangeable hands, he also comes with two different versions of the disc with neat little blast effects. He's got one that's got this curvy translucent blue effect, and he's got one that's got a straight translucent blue effect. And this is really cool. They're very nice. They're nice and solid and sturdy feeling, and that plastic is very shiny and translucent, so it's very cool looking. My only issue, and I guess this is definitely something that would be considered an issue, I don't know how to pose these guys holding on to these. They don't really have any pegs or anything like that. So finding a way to make it look like it's flying out of his hand doesn't seem to work. I can't find a good way to do it. You can kind of rest it on his fingers in some spots, and it doesn't look perfect, but like if you get some good poses with him, maybe that's the way. Maybe just putting it between his fingers there is the best way you could do it. I was thinking it'd be really neat if we had like some clear stands or something to put these on like out in front of them. Then it would look like that they're actually flying out of their hands. They're fun accessories. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm not finding a real solid way of displaying them with the figure. Oh, so I talked about that reflection one earlier. So the cool thing, too, is since he's got those specific hands for holding the disc in front of him, he can definitely hold on to that disc with the red disc reflecting off of it that came with Flynn that I showed you earlier. And actually, I really do like that. I think that's a very cool little effect there and a great way to pose him on your shelf. So lastly, that's going to bring us to Sark. Again, fantastic looking figure. I think the overall sculpt and details on these guys are really, really awesome. They stand out fantastically. They really capture the overall feel of the characters from the film. Again, we got another pretty great actor likeness here with this one, I'd say. At least the sculpt looks really great. Solid gray on the face with only details being painted are the eyes and the eyebrows. Love that very unique helmet, of course, that Sark's got. He's got the same bright kind of orangish red neon colors that we saw on Kevin Flynn there. But again, his entire torso has got like this different deco there, so it's got some different sculpting going on in there. And even the pants are different on this guy. So he's got a bit of a totally unique sculpt. It looks like pretty much through and through. It looks like the wrist bracers and the shoulder pads are probably the same. So, there's still a fair amount of shared parts where it makes sense. But seriously, all these figures look great. And when you stand them side by side, they really do stand out as very different, and they capture the spirit of the characters from the film. So Sark comes with interchangeable hands, but all of his hands are very similar. They're just kind of like almost like these resting, slightly gripping hands, and they are a little bit different. So you can see the way that the fingers are a bit more curled on the ones that are on there compared to the other hands there. Almost like he's got like fingers that are a little more close together and fingers that are a little more separated. They should all be good for holding on to his disc, which you can see I've got plugged into his back. Works the same way as I showed you with the others. If you just kind of get him kind of get it resting, you can squeeze it in between the thumb there. It actually works pretty good on there. And he comes with the same two accessories as Tron, but this time with the red discs with the yellow blast effects kind of coming off the back. Though I did have kind of the same problems with him. It's, finding a way to put those on there to make it look like he's throwing them is a bit tricky. All right, guys, it's comparison time. So I mentioned those Walgreens exclusive versions a few times, so I definitely want to show these off because there's quite a bit of a difference between them that I wasn't expecting. Of course, the big difference I already pointed out was the Flynn got a blue release at Walgreens, which I can imagine a lot of people probably wanting since that's his standard color. But if we look at the two Tron figures side by side, you'll actually see that there's a difference in the coloring on these guys. The skin tone is different. The white on the Walgreens version almost has a hint of blue or gray to it. The blue isn't as vibrant. And like I mentioned earlier, the eyes and everything are painted better on this new Select version compared to the Walgreens version. The overall face just looks like it's painted a lot better on this version. And when you stand Sark next to his Walgreens counterpart, you can really see the difference because the gray is so much darker on the Walgreens version and the red is more dim. It's not really that glowing look. So yeah, there's quite a bit of a difference between the Walgreens versions and these Select versions that I was not expecting. And it's definitely worth pointing out because if you're going to get these Select versions, but then plan on just buying the Walgreens version of Flynn so that you have a blue Flynn, his blue doesn't match the Select Tron's blue. So they are slightly different from each other. So there you guys go. That is a look at the Diamond Select Toys Tron action figures. All in all, I think these are really fun. I think it's pretty great that we got some movie accurate versions of these characters all these years later. This is one of my favorite 80s movies. I've always appreciated toys of the Tron franchise, so it's pretty cool getting these. The overall design is really nice on these. I think the paint deco is nice and clean, the construction is solid, the articulation functions really well, the joints are nice and tight, so all of that feels really good. My biggest nitpick with these is that all the interchangeable hands don't really hold on to those discs very well, and all of those cool accessories we got with the neat blast effects just don't really fit with the figures. I can't find a good way to display them with those really neat effects, so I really wish that those were handled a little bit better, but all in all, the figures themselves are pretty solid. So these figures are set to be released in February to comic and specialty stores. So happy hunting, my friends. Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, leave me a comment down below to let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, my friends.